Hi, guys. Welcome to American Listening to Podcasts. Today, I will give you detailed information about the podcast, the most needed ability in every day. Communication is skills of listening, ability to follow a speaker in a foreign language, and respond appropriately needs to be taught like all other language skills. A novel approach to perfecting listening skills has emerged due to audio publishing online. It is known as podcasting and has become very popular because it offers language learners extra listening practice both inside and outside the classroom. Moreover, podcasting as online communication technology is a new way to inspire learning. It provides an exciting way for students and educators to explore and discover educational content. However, the applicability of podcasting to teaching English needs researching. This paper addresses research into learners' perceptions of online listening to podcasts, self-evaluation of one's performance in individual listening practice, and reflections on practical ways of improving skills of listening and developing listening competence. Some implications of research are suggested, including a blended learning, combination of multiple approaches to learning by harmonizing online listening with classroom, audition activities in teaching, learning English for specific purposes. An innovative approach to teaching listening skills has emerged due to the high-tech developments. One of them is a so-called podcasting, a portmanteau of the words iPod and broadcasting, which has recently become very popular. The term podcast was first coined in 2004, and it means the publishing of audio materials via the internet. Audio recordings are designed to be downloaded and listened to on a portable MP3 player of any type, or on a personal computer. Audio files available for downloading. The most basic and powerful way to connect to another person is to listen. Just listen. Rachel Naomi. Ramen and other means of online listening have been around for some time. Podcasts differ from other ways of delivering audio materials online by the opportunity of downloading content automatically. Podcasting offers learners a wide range of possibilities for extra listening. Practice both inside and outside the classroom. Podcasts enable students to practice listening in a self-directed manner and at their own pace. The new Oxford American Dictionary named a podcast its official word of the year. The object of our research has been the learners' perceptions of expedience in listening to podcasts. The aims of research have been to examine the challenges that students face in listening to various authentic English podcasts and to analyze learners' self-evaluation data on various techniques of improving listening skills. The methods of the research include administering an appropriate survey to project participants, the analysis of self-evaluation data on students' performance in podcasting and learners' reflections on their experience of online listening and listening activities in the class. The participants in this study are students of different specializations who study English for specific purposes at the Faculty of Social Policy, Určiite University, Lithuania. The hypothesis for the present study has been to examine how realistic students are in assessing their listening abilities and skills. The intended outcome of research has been to formulate the recommendations for good practice in helping respondents to perfect skills of listening. Overview of literature. Language practitioners are well aware that listening activity in Learn English for specific purposes is an active and demanding process of selecting and interpreting information from auditory and visual clues. However, what is known about the listening process basically emerges from research on developments in native language. In listening, there are several major steps which include determining a reason for listening, predicting information, attempting to organize information, assigning a meaning to the message, and transferring information from short-term memory to long-term memory. An important feature of listening process is that much of processing of incoming information takes place during the pauses in speech. Pauses in natural speech allow students to gain processing time. Moreover, much of involves drawing inferences. Feature of listening is a creation of mental messages which are stored by learners. This phenomenon is known as a false recognition memory. restrictions on learners' ability to understand the speech are caused, and just as much by difficulties of the language as by memory limits. All comprehension depends on the storing and processing of information by the mind. Unfortunately, the human is less efficient in whatever it is doing. In other words, language learners have cognitive deficits with listening that are not caused by lack of language ability, but by difficulties with processing information in the second language. The role of vocabulary knowledge and its recognition in listening affects comprehension of information. The number of long words and the number of words in a sentence define comprehensibility of a text. Lexical density is a variable showing the percentage of content words. A vocabulary measure may provide an indication of how easy it will be for learners to understand a spoken text. In listening, it is not just the relative frequency of the content words that affects comprehension, but also how concentrated they are in the text. Another important issue in listening prehension is authenticity of listening materials. Authenticity implies real language, which is the hardest to understand, because no concessions are made to native speakers. Language is unlikely to be simplified or spoken slowly. For learners, authenticity often means negative, difficult language. When learners listen to unfamiliar speech, they hear an almost continuous chain of sounds. Inexperienced learners do not actually hear the boundaries of words. For this reason, they describe the speech as too fast. Experienced learners are able to break down this chain into separate words in their heads because they are familiar with the sounds and can create meaningful words with. One of the most difficult tasks for any teacher is to teach the skills of listening, because successful listening skills are acquired over time and with lots of practice. Learning English. Listening skills is frustrating for students because there are no rules as in grammar teaching. Moreover, listening skills are difficult. One of the largest inhibitors for students is often a mental block. While listening, students suddenly decide they do not understand. At this point, many students just tune out. Some students convince themselves they are not able to understand spoken English well and create problems for themselves. And interactive models have been extensively used over the past decades to teach listening. Some researchers believe that these models do not cater to the complexities of the listening process and attempt to introduce a pedagogical model for second language listening that encompasses individual, cultural, social, contextualized, affective, strategic, and critical dimensions. Therefore, having examined the above-mentioned sources on developing students' English listening skills in language classes, it is easier to understand why internet audio has suddenly become popular now. Recent technical innovations allow subscribers with portable MP3 players to use technology for downloading podcasts and to listen to files at one's own convenience. This opens up new educational potential of using unproductive time for learning. Research into the student reaction to podcasting is still in progress, but early indications from student feedback collected so far and analysis, of course, tracking suggests that the podcasts were highly appreciated and extensively used by students. Podcasts are part of novel online learning and can serve a number of enhance the range and register of English learning language listening practice material available for the students to use in a variety of ways, to provide increased connectivity between different elements of the course, to increase the scope for discussion activity. The podcasts online have given the language teacher a wealth of materials for teaching listening skills. Constantine examines the subject of podcasts on several levels and deals with the questions of the podcast advantages, selection of the most beneficial American podcasts, and discusses how to maximize learning from podcasts. The advantages of podcasts are: firstly, learners can benefit from global listening, even if they only listen from 3 to 5 minutes a day. Secondly, students will be exposed to the new language. Thirdly, the intermediate learner has a need for authentic texts and to be exposed to a variety of voices. Moreover, podcasts are not just intended for listening. Often, there is a transcript provided along with worksheets. A number of websites interact with the students and ask them to write in with questions or comments. An innovative usage of podcasts is to have a learner listen to a podcast and read its transcript. Then, the student can make a recording of the material on a cassette tape and submit it to the teacher along with a written journal. The teacher listens to the student's recording and gives appropriate feedback to the student. This type of activity helps the students to develop fluency in listening, reading, speaking, pronunciation, and to acquire new vocabulary. Teachers can take advantage of podcasts as a basis for listening comprehension exercises, as a means of generating conversation based on students' reaction to podcasts, and as a way of providing each and every student diverse listening materials. A brief overview of how podcasting can be used in English language teaching is provided by Rob, who suggests that there are 3 basic modes of activities for podcasting. Students as consumers, when teachers create materials for students or assign them to listen to one of the many available American podcast sites, or students as producers or publishers, and teachers have students create material for others to listen to, or students practice listening and accomplish various exercises. Objectives of research. In this study, we aimed at examining the challenges that students face in listening to various authentic English podcasts individually and analyzing learners' self-evaluation of performance. The intended outcome of research is to formulate the recommendations for good practice in perfecting listening skills at tertiary level, research techniques, and respondents. The research methods included, firstly, the survey of students' self-evaluation of their performance in individual listening to various English podcasts at upper intermediate, advanced or intermediate for learners of lower proficiency, and, secondly, students' self-evaluation of performance. And thirdly, their reflections on the usefulness of various types of listening experiences, the application of self-evaluation and reflections techniques aimed at raising learners' awareness of their abilities to follow authentic speech and feasible ways of improving English listening skills. English listening to podcasts had to serve a number of learning goals. First, to enhance the range and register of English language listening practice, material available for the students to use in a variety of ways. Second, to provide increased connectivity between different elements of the course. Third, to increase the scope for discussion activity in the classroom in pairs after students have shared their listening experiences. Conclusions and implications of research. The extent to which learners consciously focus on aspects of language and the degree of noticing its particular features have been currently debated by linguists and practitioners. This study documents the ways of raising language awareness through the listening to authentic podcasts, which is important for language processing and learner development. In this paper, the authors infer that there is an opportunity for raising language awareness by employing podcasting. It allows learners to carry out homework assignments at their own pace and under non-threatening conditions. A variety of podcasts and listening to them at the convenient time. Follow-up classroom discussion on benefits or failures of listening to podcasts enables each learner to evaluate their ability to understand authentic records. Summarizing various types of listening experiences in individual weblogs allows learners to store written records of their achievements. The implications of this research are number. First, individual online listening to podcasts at one's own pace and at the convenient to a learner time prompts, and motivates learners to improve skills of listening without being intimidated by possible failure. Second, raising learners' awareness of suitable individual ways of perfecting skill of listening promotes language learning. Third, the novelty and diversity of outside class listening motivates learners to perfect their skills without being observed by peers or teachers. Fourth, harmonizing online listening with classroom audition activities in teaching. Learning English should benefit all learners. Fifth, learners become aware that listening skills can be improved through a lot of practice of their own choice. Finally, self-assessing one's achievements and publishing a self-evaluation report in individual weblogs encourage learners to keep improving. Due to diverse personalities of learners, teachers must acknowledge the fact that not all learners enjoy using digital technology